person thumbs and finds something appropriate for the moment and recites it. No spontaneity of passion. You see. It talks of a treasure that's laying out on the ice, and there's nobody who has the passion to skate out and get it. And so on and so forth. What he's saying is that the mainsprings of our life are in the inner spirit of my body. Yes. Now, also in that same edition of the present age, there is a second article. A second article called The Difference Between a Genius and an Apostle. And whereas the first, the present age, is a critique of the Enlightenment, the second is, I think, a critique of Romanticism in religion. A critique, indeed, of people like Hegel in religion, of Schleiermacher. You see, the genius is the creative spirit who sees far ahead of others and stands out above the crowd. The creative genius. The apostle is one sent by God who is remembered not for his genius, which would soon be overtaken by the others and therefore almost forgotten, but is remembered rather for the authority on which he speaks. Says the apostle, "Thus saith the Lord." There's a qualitative difference, says Kierkegaard. Not just a difference of degree of authority, but a qualitative difference between a genius and an apostle. Now, the qualitative difference, of course, is that one speaks for God, the other speaks as a human being. You can see in that his repudiation of the view of 19th century liberal theology, that revelation is simply the emergence of an increasing God consciousness out of the human spirit in the course of life. Okay? The gradual evolution of a concept of God in the development of the human spirit, Hegel. As distinct from the view that revelation is God speaking from beyond history, the eternal, acting into time. Yes. Okay. So where he's coming from in this is very explicit. Very explicit. Well, Kierkegaard then is a religious existentialist. Very effective as a writer. Still read enthusiastically by a lot of people. My colleague Bob Roberts wrote a book on Kierkegaard some years ago. Teaches a Kierkegaard seminar periodically. He was going to do one next year, except that he got this grant, which takes him away, so he'll do it the year he comes back, the following year. Those of you who are juniors next year will be in luck. You'll get a Kierkegaard senior seminar the following year. So, yeah, Kierkegaard has, I think it's fair to say, had an influence in subsequent theology. Not in natural theology, but in a theology that tries to stress the transcendence of God and his act of self-revelation. Okay, any questions, comments on Kierkegaard? Does it whet your appetite? Okay, you types, go and read the stuff in the anthology then. You get it. The selections are well chosen on Kierkegaard, and I think in the light of what I've said, you should... Okay, any comments? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. The aesthetic, the ethical, religious, yeah. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. I have difficulty in seeing why those two should be antithetical. Although thesis, antithesis, synthesis is not necessarily, thesis and antithesis, not necessarily contradictories. In logic, get the difference between a contradictory and a contrary. Am I talking sense? Get it this way. Some of you, how many of you have taken logic 101, 2, whatever it is? Okay, you'll get this then quite easily. The square of opposition. Do you still do that in logic? I see some nods of recognition. The square of opposition has to do with the relationships between four kinds of proposition. An A proposition is universal affirmative, all men are mortal. Universal and affirmative, all men are mortal. An E proposition is universal negative. No Wheaton students are liars. Universal negative. Don't grin satirically, cynically when I say that. An I proposition is particular affirmative. Some Wheaton students are liars. And an O proposition is particular negative. Some Wheaton students, at least, are not liars. Okay? Now, contradictories are across the diagonals. That is to say, A and O cannot both be true at the same time and in the same respect. E and I cannot both be true at the same time and in the same respect. They're mutually contradictory. If all Wheaton students are liars, then there are none who are not. If no Wheaton students are liars, then it's not the case that some are. So across the diagonals are contradictories. Now, on the other hand, this way it's contraries. Some are, some are not. Some are, some are not. So if you take a paradox to be a contrary, the thesis and the antithesis are contrary to each other, they're not necessarily contradictory to each other. You see? So a synthesis is possible. That's why it is that Hegel, you see, can develop a thesis and antithesis into a synthesis. And that's why the religious life is not something wholly other than the ethical and aesthetic life. They're not antithetical. The thesis and the antithesis are preserved in the synthesis. Now, having said that, I should add, I suppose, that once in a while, Kierkegaard uses the term contradiction. And as I listen to the Kierkegaard experts, I gather that some of them think that by contradiction he means there are contradictories. And others of them think that he's just very loose in his use of terms. And it's not really that there are contradictories, just contraries. So, some ambiguity there. But at least on the three stages, this is the way it looks to things. Contraries.
Did he have a terribly dramatic conversion experience?
He had a terribly dramatic religious experience. I hesitate to call it a conversion experience, inasmuch as I don't think he was exactly an unbeliever before. You see. But he does talk about, I forget the detail of it just now, some of you may have read this more recently than I. Was it he or was it his father who was out on the moors? His father in a dreadful thunderstorm cursed God, so forth, and there was something intensely religious. Do you remember what it was?
Basically, his father believed that he was God first, and in that verse also would affect his children.
Oh, yeah.
And then the children would have to live 40 years like that, because they wanted it. But Kierkegaard
Thought that curse was on him.
Yeah, and Kierkegaard felt, when he was like 6 years old, his father told him about this, and felt that because his father had cursed God somehow, God cursed
Yeah.
also his father.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember a conversion experience in Kierkegaard's own life. Has anybody read recently in Kierkegaard? Think of it, Ryan?
He, in his college years, he rebelled against his father.
Yeah.
Religion, had a rather loose moral life, and then he, after I guess supposedly an attempted suicide 1 year or so, he had this what he called a conversion or a religious experience in which he came back to the faith and defended it.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember any account of dramatic experience particularly. Kierkegaard actually was very much a critic of the established state church in Denmark, which for him epitomized the objectivity of religion A. You see. How to become a Christian? Be born a Dane. You see, in the state church you're automatically a member of. Yeah. And his satire is its most vigorous in contexts like that. Okay, anything else? I'm ready for Nietzsche. Carl isn't. Yes. Yes. Yeah, stages on life's way, yes, a natural progression, and he traces it sort of phenomenologically, describing the changing states of consciousness. I don't know. That's same question with Hegel. When Hegel describes the phenomenology of unfolding self-consciousness, are the shortcuts around certain stages, you see. I don't know that Hegel thinks there are, but I don't know that he says they're not. And I don't know that Kierkegaard thinks this is a necessary grid, you see, or that he says it's not. It could be simply the characteristic route, though it might be conceivable that from this stage one might be drawn straight through to that. I don't know, you see. That's raising the question as to whether the dialectical movement is a metaphysical necessity, or whether it's simply a generalized phenomenological description. You see, if it's descriptive, then it might not be necessary. It may just be characteristic. And I guess I'm trying to take Hegel's dialectic as being descriptive rather than logical necessity. And I say that because if this is an expression of the creativity of spirit, you see, well, creativity is irrepressible, yet what creativity does is not logically necessary. There are alternative ways in which creative outbursts might come. That's reading the romanticism into Hegel. Okay. With Friedrich Nietzsche, we have, I think, an antithesis that is a contradictory with regards to Kierkegaard. It would be hard to synthesize these two. Kierkegaard, as is obvious, is the religious existentialist. Nietzsche is as irreligious as one could imagine. Though it's not always clear as to how much of his rhetoric is to be taken literally as objective truth. That's a question, because what he thinks about objective truth. You see, he doesn't think there is any such thing. It's also not clear whether his rhetoric is really what he himself thinks. Because according to one line of scholarship, Nietzsche's work was edited after his death by his sister, who was a pro-Nazi. Get the picture? And there are some things in Nietzsche which people have interpreted as being really in the sort of voluntarist tradition that in this country represented by William James. Much more benign. And in France represented by Henri Bergson. You remember Bergson, whom you read about in the Whitehead chapter? With his distinction between analysis and intuition. A sort of creative outburst in the evolutionary process all the time. Well, I think the point is that, that Nietzsche, whichever way you take him there, is very much influenced by the Romanticist movement. Late Romantic. Very much the critic of 19th century culture and of Enlightenment. And that's the way in which Stumpf presents him in his chapter, so be sure to read Stumpf in this. Nietzsche represents, if you like, the repudiation of evolutionary idealism with all of its 19th century optimism. The world ain't getting better and better all the time. There's nothing benign driving the process. Rather, and here is the sort of adjustments, the sort of assertions he makes, rather, God is dead. Now, he uses that phrase. I think Hegel may have been the first to use it. I'm told it appears in Matthew Arnold. Dostoevsky, of course, says if God is dead, then anything is possible. But Nietzsche, yes, talks of the death of God. This is not just a philosophical fact for him. It's a cultural phenomenon. That is to say, God language is a dead language. It doesn't have any meaning to people. Belief in God is irrelevant. And for Nietzsche, the thing which has made it irrelevant is that Christianity, as he reads it, says to nature, the physical world, our physical bodies and their lives and our emotions, has said no to nature. And Jesus and Paul represent a sort of weak-willed breed which can't accept the physical nature of their lives. Paul's always blaming it on the flesh, you see. On the other hand, ancient paganism, Greek paganism, said yes to nature. Strong-willed, willing to seize life as it is, in all of its physical virility. Incidentally, this is the background against which Karl Barth, the Protestant theologian, said that in Christ incarnate, God says a giant yes to nature. Get it? In becoming incarnate in the physical creation, in the human creation, God says yes to that creation. Yes to nature. But for Nietzsche, God is dead. He's critical, you see, of, let's call it 19th century Victorianized religion. That kept all of the seediness and the physicality of our existence, especially sexuality, under wraps. And you know, if you want the vision of under wraps, think of the way Queen Victoria dressed. In black, from head to toe. Nietzsche doesn't say that, I said that. Yeah, when I was a kid, my grandmothers, who were widows, all dressed in black from head to toe. That was the cultural pattern. You see. It's sort of interesting today to see the difference. Contrast. Well, God is dead. Now, he also is critical of the Darwinian theory of natural selection. Because that sort of evolution thinks of life as a gradual adjustment to the environment, and consequently would promise to make nothing but well-adjusted doodlers. You see, well-adjusted doodlers. Doodling, because they don't have the creative vitality and the force of will not to adjust, but overcome whatever the opposition is to their lives. Rather, what he sees is that there is no hope in the uncreative, well-adjusted conformist fitting into his given station in life and its duties. And incidentally, F.H. Bradley, the Hegelian idealist, has an essay on ethics which gets to the heart of his ethical theory. The essay is called My Station and Its Duties. He's not talking of a railroad station. He's talking of his station in life, his class in the social system, adjusting to environment that Nietzsche repudiates. He turns rather to what he calls the aesthetic point of view. And notice how different this is than the aesthetic stage as pictured by Kierkegaard. The aesthetic point of view, remember, is romanticized. It's the point of view of creative individuality. Creative individuality. And he tries to adapt romanticism to his own point of view in a work called The Birth of Tragedy. The Birth of Tragedy. Where, going back to the Greeks, he talks of two traditions in opposition to each other, the Dionysian and the Apollonian. Now, those terms obviously symbolize things that you're familiar with. The Dionysian, vitality. The Apollonian, form. The Apollonian, rational order. The Dionysian, the vitality of riotous creative outbursts of emotion, passion. Now, in that dialectic, you see, in the tension between those two, the Greeks created tragedies. You see? Tragedies in which life is creatively affirmed in the face of all that's horrible. As if there is an order, a logos structure of some sort, even amidst all that vitality brings for better and especially for worse. So the conception of tragedy, then, has to do with the overcoming of the horrible. Now, in this you can catch a couple of echoes. You remember Schopenhauer? You remember Schopenhauer's major work, The World as Will and Idea. Will, vitality. Idea, the rational mental representation. You see. Now, Schopenhauer, of course, was arguing that the idea is purely phenomenal. It's the will that is real. He was a voluntaristic idealist. Now, Nietzsche likewise. Reason is a matter of appearance, outward form. The underlying reality, creative will. And it's that creative will which he calls the will to power. The will to overcome. The will to power.